Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. So here we are heading into 2022, which is still almost kind of hard to believe, but for a lot of us, we're kind of looking into 2022 with a glimmer of hope that maybe it will be a great and fantastic year. But then here comes Nintendo and they completely ruin everything. No, instead they actually have warned us about 2022 that maybe not everything is going to be so smooth. Yes, it's one of those topics that we have talked about time and time again, and it looks like there's going to be some problems that persist throughout the next year. Yeah, it just never feels like this is going to end, so we're going to go over that one today. And then also, it does look like some Halo Infinite game modes did leak out online, so we'll go over that one as well. To start this video off, though, we're actually going to be talking about a game that I know a lot of JRPG fans have really been looking forward to, and that is Monark. Now, the reason that a lot of fans have really been excited about this one is because Monark is actually being developed by Landcars, which is made up of former Atlus employees, the same employees that's worked on games such as Shin Megami Tensei and the Persona franchise. And of course, those are often viewed as some of the best JRPGs in the industry on a pretty consistent basis, whether that be Persona or Shin Megami Tensei. You take a look at Shin Megami Tensei 5, that was easily one of the best JRPGs that has released in 2021, if not just the last several years. It's a fantastic game. So with a pedigree of talent like that, that's the main reason that a lot of people have been keeping an eye out for this game. The thing is, in terms of its theme and its story, it does seem like it has some similarities to these games, with you playing as yet another silent protagonist, but we hadn't really seen much in the way of gameplay up to this point. That's all changed now, though, as they've pushed out a new trailer in the month of December, and it does show some gameplay, though it is a little bit different than what I think some fans were expecting. This doesn't appear to be your typical turn-based JRPG, but rather it looks more like a strategy RPG. Now, I'm not necessarily opposed to that myself, as I do like strategy RPGs, but still just a little bit different. I still, however, do want to see some more gameplay here, though, because, I mean, this trailer didn't really show too much, but it does have me at least intrigued. Now, I actually do recommend checking this trailer out, though, if you do like games like this. For one, the music in this trailer was absolutely fantastic, so I will leave a link to that in the description below. But yes, if you are interested in Monark, it will release on the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 5, and the Nintendo Switch on February 22nd of 2022. Next up, PlayStation did officially reveal the PlayStation Plus games for the month of January, and I do use that word very specifically here because these games did actually leak out online. PlayStation Plus actually has a real problem with leaks right now, as for like the last 4 or 5 months, this has happened, but it is still nice to get confirmation here. So let's just go check out the January lineup. This will include Deep Rock Galactic, Persona 5 Strikers, and then Dirt 5. Now, all three of these games are pretty solid here, but I think it also has some games that a lot of people will be really interested in to jump in for the first time. I mean, you take a look at something like Persona 5 Strikers. Persona 5 was very, very successful on the PlayStation 4, and I'm not exactly sure how many people who played that original Persona 5 jumped into Strikers. But now here, with it coming to PlayStation Plus, you don't have an excuse not to play this game now, so I really like this as an inclusion. Now, this next one, though, I think this is possibly the most interesting one on this list, being Deep Rock Galactic. I wasn't really aware of this before, but I actually thought this was already available on PlayStation, but I guess it wasn't up until this point, so this is actually a day one release. Yeah, and I think this is the perfect style of game to include in PlayStation Plus. This is a cooperative driven shooter, and right out of the gate, if you have some friends that have PlayStation Plus, you all can just all jump in together and check this game out. It has been available on Xbox Game Pass for some time now, and a lot of people will just flat out view this as one of the better cooperative games on the market as of this moment. So if you haven't heard of Deep Rock Galactic up until this point, well, now you have, and you should absolutely check it out if you like these style of games. Regardless, though, I do think this is a pretty solid start for the year of 2022 when it comes to PlayStation Plus. Now, speaking of 2022, Nintendo's president Shintaro Furukawa had some very interesting statements regarding the Switch going into next year. Now, this is something that the game industry has really been dealing with a lot over the last year, especially the Xbox Series and the PlayStation 5, and that is with stock supply. I mean, with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, these consoles just cannot be stocked fast enough. They cannot meet the demand because they just quite frankly can't manufacture enough consoles. Though with the Nintendo Switch, it seems like they haven't been affected near as much. They are still selling at that record-breaking pace. But if you do look a little bit closer, they've been affected as well, and this is something that you can really see with their internal projections. They were projecting the Nintendo Switch to sell about 30 million consoles in the year of 2021, but they had to scale that back because, again, they couldn't make enough consoles. And well, we as a game community continue to just kind of hope that things will improve, especially as we head into 2022, but according to Nintendo's president, that's just not going to be the case. And in fact, he's actually warning that in 2022 that they're just not going to be able to produce as many units as they want to. While being interviewed, he does talk about the success they had ending the year of 2021 and said that the Switch did perform strong, especially the OLED model. But then he kind of goes into the logistics, and you can clearly see that that wasn't a straightforward amount of success. There was a little bit more to all of this that actually made that happen. He pointed out in the US that they had to use air freight to reach stores for Black Friday, and over in Europe, they had to use rail freight for the first time to meet demand. Yeah, that's kind of what's happening right now. I mean, it's just a big mess in the industry right now. And again, this isn't exclusive to game consoles. Electronics in general are just having this problem worldwide, and you can really see that here with the Nintendo Switch. But then he was kind of asked about 2022, and he says, adding that after the new year, it depends on the demand, but as we had feared, we will not be able to produce as many as we want. So yeah, it does look like there's going to be some problems, at least early in 2022, with stock supply for the Nintendo Switch. And this really is just not what you want to hear. The Nintendo Switch, up to this point, has done a pretty good job at keeping stock supply up, and now even they are having problems. I mean, by this point, it just feels like we continue to hope things are going to get better, but it just seems like that's not happening at all. In the year of 2020, we talked a lot about this, and we continue to say that, hey, in 2021, hopefully it'll be better, and then we pushed that back into the second half of the year, and then we pushed it back to the end of the year, and now we're talking about this problem lasting into 2022. And actually, I mean, we've heard from some big companies like Intel, this might last all the way until 2023. So it just seems like this issue continues to keep being pushed back, and I think that this does raise some major questions for the game industry right now. I mean, you take a look at the Xbox Series and the PlayStation 5, they still haven't even met that initial demand, and that is absolutely problematic for new consoles. They want to get as many of these in the hands of players as they possibly can, and even though these consoles are selling at a record-breaking pace, they could still have sold so many more if they could just make enough units. It's just not a problem that you want to have, and now here we are seeing the Nintendo Switch have a similar problem. And that's kind of the thing, because Nintendo does have a lot of momentum going for them right now, and they do have a pretty good lineup of games for 2022. Take a look at January. You have Pokemon Legends Arceus, you have Kirby and the Forgotten Land coming out sometime next year, Bayonetta 3, Zelda, Breath of the Wild 2, or whatever that game's going to be called. I mean, there are some big Nintendo Switch games coming out in 2022 that will certainly draw a lot of attention and be some real system sellers, but unfortunately, again, they might not be able to reach that demand. And actually, another thing to kind of keep in mind is a new Switch variant. There's been a lot of discussion about a quote-unquote Nintendo Switch Pro, and even this year, a lot of people were expecting them to make that Switch Pro with a 4K docked mode. We talked a lot about this early in the year, but instead we got the Switch OLED. But reports did come out that maybe one of the reasons that they decided to go with the Switch OLED rather than this 4K device is because of issues just like this. Now, I don't know if any of that's true or not, but if it is, and now they're having even more issues this year, I mean, the hope for a Switch Pro is probably even less likely in 2022 than what it already was before. Really, you could also say similar things with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series. I feel like this situation could actually prolong the generation, as this problem kind of slows momentum down just in general. But by this point, I guess it is what it is. It's not something that we necessarily want to hear, but it's something that we will continue to deal with, unfortunately, throughout 2022. Let's go ahead and move on over to some good news, though, being about Halo Infinite, as it looks like some beloved Halo games might have leaked out online. Now, this is according to a data mine by Halo.api, which reveals a full list of all of the medals in Halo Infinite. Yeah, if you take a look at the list of medals here, this includes Clash of Kings, Interception, Reclaimer, Saboteur, Secure Line, Signal Block, The Sickness, Undead Hunter, Watch the Throne, and then Zombie Slayer. Now, this is some really interesting stuff here because these medals are linked to some game modes that a lot of Halo fans are going to know very well. These are some fan favorites, which includes Infection, Griffball, King of the Hill, and then also Extraction. Now, not all these game modes here are going to be the most competitive in the world, but these are still some really fun casual games, especially with Infection. This has always been a fan favorite when it comes to Halo, where you have one person play as a zombie and then they run around with a sword and they go take everybody out and then they turn into a zombie. It's a really fun game mode to just kind of play around with, and it does sound like that they'll be bringing this game back here with Halo Infinite. But that right there is kind of the thing when it comes to Halo Infinite. It seems like 343 has a lot planned for Halo Infinite. I mean, we've kind of already been seeing that with some new game modes added already, including SWAT, and that's another fan favorite, but it sounds like they're going to have even more game modes included here sometime soon. They also have Cooperative coming out sometime in 2022. They have Forge, which there's been some leaks regarding that, which makes it sound absolutely fantastic. And there's also a possibility that they're going to be adding some more single-player content as well. I'm not going to go into spoiler territory, but we all know some things that they are hinting at, so we'll kind of see where that goes. But yeah, even though Halo Infinite is releasing a little bit different than what we have seen some past Halo games, I feel like there's a lot of potential here, and we're already seeing that 343 is planning a lot of content. I mean, especially on the multiplayer side of things, and I think it's just going to be so fun to kind of watch the evolution of this game over time. I feel like by the end of everything, this could be the most complete Halo game ever, with just a ton of content, whether that comes with the single-player campaign or the multiplayer. This is a game that they intend on supporting for a very long time, and I mean, as good as this game plays, I think fans will be supporting this game for just as long. Let me know in the comments below, though, on what you think about them adding in game modes like Infection. Are you excited about this? Again, I know it's not necessarily the most competitive game mode in the world, but I mean, really, sometimes you just want a good, casual, fun game to play, and I think Infection in particular is exactly that. Speaking of Xbox, let's go take a look at the poll of the day, where I asked you all, do you think Xbox should revamp their achievement system to include a 100% badge similar to Platinum trophies on PlayStation? And it does seem like most of you all really believe that they should do this, with 64% of you saying yes, while 26% of you saying no. And truthfully, I completely 100% agree with you all here on this one. For me, I actually like Xbox achievements and PlayStation trophies for different reasons. On one side, I like how Xbox achievements is set up where it tells you exactly how many points you have, whereas on PlayStation, it does that with levels and percentages. I kind of like the exact amount that achievements has a little bit more, but on the opposite side of things, because of PlayStation Platinum trophies, 100%ing a game on PlayStation is just so much more rewarding than it is on Xbox. I mean, with a PlayStation Platinum trophy, you have proof that you 100%ed something, and anytime that I look at my profile, I know exactly how many games that I 100%ed, and not only that, but I get to see exactly which games I liked enough to even attempt something like that. I don't typically try to 100% a game unless I really, really like them, but yes, I do think it's much more rewarding on PlayStation than it is on Xbox. And I mean, even with Xbox, I mean, there's situations where a game has more than 1,000 points, and that makes the whole situation of finding which games you 100%ed even more difficult. So yeah, I would really like to see Xbox incorporate something like this. Interestingly enough, earlier this year, it seemed like that they were kind of teasing some kind of change with the achievement system, so maybe we do get something like that here in the near future. I guess we'll kind of see about all of that, but I do want to kind of highlight a comment here made in the comment section by Epsilon Orpheon. I just absolutely love this idea here, but Epsilon did give this a name and everything, calling it a quote-unquote crowning achievement. I absolutely love that, and if they do something like this, I really hope that's exactly what they call it. I just feel like that is such a brilliant name, so kudos to Epsilon Orpheon. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.